And so I want to begin. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Community. For those of you who are listening to the recording, you have missed out first couple minutes that is not to be shared with everybody, but just with the group about grounding ourselves to do this work. And I just want to start with the voice of this beautiful woman on my wall, which is Nina Simone. And I want to remind all of us that Nina Simone was in a time when songs were consequential, when the government of the country, the US, went after people like Nina Simone. Check the story. Who sang. So when you tell me you're a singer and you're a poet and you're a spoken word artist, I want to know what you're doing with all that power. Are you representing the time? This work, we talk about racial justice in teacher education. We talk about disrupting anti-Black racism. We talk about those things. I want you to realize that this work is not the kind of work that is just by the wayside kind of energy. When you speak up strongly about engaging and embracing racial justice, there are responses, there are pushback, there are questions, and so I want you to ground yourself. I see you, Courtney. Come on, Courtney. I see you. It's funny you say that comment in the box. Thank you for that, Courtney. That may be funny, but I know you understand the depth of that. Self-care is non-negotiable, Courtney. People ask me, they pull me aside in private. I get it a lot. Dr. Campbell, how do you balance? How do you balance this? And in my grounding, that I'm going through, what she said to me was, what are the things you do when it feels heavy? And I said to her, it wasn't intentional, but I realized when I go to Jamaica, which I try to do as often as I can afford, I always find water. I always find water, mostly fresh water, which is a river or the sea. And I know some of you have seen me on social media and you see me by the water. It's more than a swim, Courtney. It's more than a beach day. There are times when I go by the water and I sit there. And there are times when I let it out. And what I didn't realize I was doing, Pratima, was when she asked me, are there anything that centers you? And I said to her, whenever I leave the river or the water, I always take a stone with me. I like the feel of a stone in my hand and the hardness coming from the water. But I'm reminded that, that the stones are there, years upon years, formed, hardened. And then I said to her, I actually bring those stones home with me. I have them. So I want you to think about as you're doing this work for community leaders, I see educational leaders. I want you to realize the importance of self-care. We're starting there this morning. The importance of self-care, students. I have seen a number of students, I see you, Safia, who have disengaged from teaching in the first 5 years. Go do the research. In the first 5 years, you're looking at someone who is in my 28th September as a trained, certified educator. And sometimes you hear me speak a certain level of boldness. You have to understand why. I'm going to tell you why. It's because I know what I bring to the classroom. I know who I am. I walk into the classroom and I know who I am. And I have a passion for teaching. My first job offer was a flight attendant. Don't know why I love flying so much, but that was my first job offer. And I've made joke about it, Michaela, that I've been mistaken twice as a flight attendant on a plane. Not by one person, by almost quarter of the plane. Only to realize people were asking me questions, realize, oh, I was in a vest, I was dressed up, I was giving you purser energy. Not just a regular flight attendant, Michaela. I was giving you the purser energy. So you have to know what kind of energy you bring. I don't bring the least. And that is something that has troubled many people because I don't show up as the least. And they're not used to blackness showing up as the most. So when you hear I make jokes sometimes about certain things, it's very intentional. And it disrupt whiteness. It disrupt white supremacy. It disrupt racism. It disrupt the people who are invested in anti-blackness, because this black man shows up in his fullness. And I am mad about it. So I know, watch me carefully, Michaela. Racial justice in teacher education, get this on your notepad because I know you take your notes, doesn't have to be anything else than the way you show up authentically as a black woman. That's the start. So do not walk out of here today saying, Dr. ABC teach me how to block the street, and he tell me to burn down 2 buildings, and he tell me to not to go to work, but to tie myself to the gate until they have racial justice. We're going to talk about being there. So as we get into this, I want to share something very important with you. This conversation started back in September 2022 with Yolanda Celia Ruiz. And she was our guest speaker at our OISI orientation. And before that, 2020, I wrote an article about having courageous conversation and the principles for me. This is an Andrew Campbell kind of thing about those courageous conversations. And of course, they are not original. People talk about all of these things. So these are not original. But I pull them from spaces, Nuruddin. I pull them from spaces. And I say, these are the things that I want to guide me when I do courageous conversation, when I have them, when I'm engaging in them. And I always say, come prepared to learn and to unlearn. You'd be surprised the number of things that I have learned over the years. I have learned how anti-blackness shows up way different from just racism. I've learned how anti-blackness is embedded in our black community because we have been taught how to be everything other than black, how to be better than black. You see those children over there, their parents do this, so that is what I want you to do. And this doesn't come for black students only. This is against racial justice. So we are not talking about anti-blackness. We're talking about racial justice in teacher education. How are we checking our bias and our prejudice? How are we staying engaged? You know how many persons have disengaged, Professor Neil? You know how many persons have disengaged? Right now, because we said DEI is dead, everybody who wanted to be a DEI specialist has changed their titles on LinkedIn. I laugh because I see this. And I see the performance. And I see the, what do I do to get ahead? So if today is about DEI to get ahead, then I'm DEIing today. If today is belonging, then I'm belonging today. If tomorrow is disrupting, then we are disrupting. If tomorrow is frameworking, then I'm frameworking. If tomorrow is decolonizing, I'm decolonizing. And you are from what we say in Jamaica, you are from pillar to post. Ask a grandmother, ask a black old woman what that means. You are from pillar to post. You have no resting place. You have nothing that is setting you aside. You have nothing that you are solid in. My best friends, Aaron, will tell you, my best friends in America and in Jamaica and in Canada will tell you on a regular day, in my house, anywhere, on the beach, in a movie theater, having a burger, having some jerk chicken, anywhere, and something comes up in that environment, even the smell of anti-blackness, they will tell you, like a possum, like a porcupine, like a peacock, I open up. Whether it's to cherish it, affirm it, or to disrupt it. My friends will tell you, and I've had friends, I'm saying this for the recording, who will say to me, hey, Angel, we're just out here at the beach having good steam fish. Don't bother with the teaching. And I said, my teaching is in my body. Whether I'm having steam fish or not, whether I'm here at the beach or not, if I see anti-blackness and it disrupts me, I have to speak up. And if I don't get to speak up, Michaela, don't think every time I speak up, I walk away. Because that environment will suck out my energy. So I am gone. I have done that. Politely dismiss myself. Notice my choice of word. Politely dismiss myself. So I want you to realize when we're having these conversations, they are important. And by the way, like I said to you before, this PowerPoint has been shown to hundreds of people. We started this. I was a part of it when I just got hired at OISE in 2022. My title, of course, for those who know, it's a professor of racial justice. So this was thing that I carried, and I also was a faculty development coordinator at the time for the Master of Teaching program, and I shared this with many of our professors at OISE, our sessionals, our community, our ATs, our FAs. So I've presented this many times in the past. I guarantee if you go on my YouTube, you'll find it. And so we always begin with these questions. What are some of your first memories involving race? Not blackness alone, race. Was it your race or somebody else's race? It comes out in the children. It comes out in identity. It comes out in their lunch boxes, Jennifer. I know, I'm director. You can imagine the number of conversations that come across your decks to do with lunch and food. I had no idea food was such an I know food was identity, but I didn't know food was such a problem in schools and workplaces. I could tell you stories of a certain organization where the Filipino staff had a meeting with me because they were being ridiculed for the smell of the food in the cafeteria. And this group of Filipino ladies decide we won't eat in the cafeteria, not because they didn't want to, but because they did not feel any sense of love, respect. And so they choose to eat outside. A whole group of women decide we're going to eat our lunch outside of the building because we are being ridiculed and embarrassed and stripped of our dignity and our identity because the powers in the building says these people food smell away and it stink up the cafeteria. I'm quoting with the word stink, by the way. So what are some of the things that we have experienced? I want to take us on a journey quickly. And especially I want to speak to the teachers, the young teachers, the to becoming teachers in the room. I want you to realize that when you go to a school and you have 25 children in your class, you're dealing with 25 families, 25 different homes, 25 different lunch menu, 25 different philosophies and ideas about what love and respect and kindness looks like. And that's why I want to strengthen you, young teachers, because it's a lot to carry. It's a lot to carry. Imagine growing up a certain way, Christine, and then you go into a class with 25 children who are brought up in other ways. How are you managing that? So as we said at the beginning, what are your biases? Are you checking your prejudice? What makes you uncomfortable? Oh, Dr. Campbell, I thought you have those conversations about bias and prejudice and discomfort when you speak to like a room full of white participants. Excuse me? Excuse me? No, I speak to all of us. I speak to all of us. We all have our biases. We all have walk in certain privilege. We all have learned from our families and our background and identity certain prejudice. We all feel discomfort in certain spaces. But let's go back to 1 and 2. How are we learning and unlearning? I want to tell you a story because my energy says I need to go there. So years ago, when I was a young teacher, this is a young teacher story. I want to stop this for a minute. Years ago, as a young teacher, 1995 to be exact, just out of Teachers College. And I was teaching grade 5. Never forget Waterford Primary School in St. Catherine, Jamaica. 55 students. Oh yes, those are the class sizes those days. 55 students. And yes, Michaela, we marked all the books. We sign all the books. We write all the report cards, and we do that, and we write all the lesson plans. Yes, we did. And that's why if I sound sometimes a little bit strong to some of you, you have to understand I am built strong. I am built strong. 55 children. And when the teacher next door is absent, we move the chalkboard, and now we have 110 children for the day by ourselves. There is no EA. I've never heard the word EA till I came to Canada. There's no SNA. There is no CYW. It's Mr. Campbell and the 110 children today. And we're having a blast. Oh, we are having a blast. Oh, we are having a blast. David, I see you, David. I wish you would see those school days. Those school days are something else. And you have to be a strong classroom teacher. For when you're teaching science and social studies, 110 children are listening to you and they are engaged. So let me tell you my story. So I'm teaching, talking about bias and prejudice and how we don't even realize what we are doing. So I'm in a community, Michaela, that is at the back of at the school at the back of a community at the train line. Literally, physically, Waterford Primary School is at the train line. And if you know anything about those storybooks about the train line, it's exactly true. It's nobody lives near the train line except wooden house, zinc fences, the poorest of the poor on the other side of the track. Literally, this the other side of the track. So we're on the school is on the regular side, and there's the other side of the track. And the children who come to this school, Michaela, a lot of them come from the other side of the track. So there's board houses, zinc fences, less than. And I'm teaching adjective, everybody. Racial justice. We are on it. We are in racial justice conversation. I'm teaching adjectives. And I'm excited. I'm out of Teachers College, Michaela. I am living my best new teacher life. And I had my friend make the best adjective charge for me. As a matter of fact, it was a double poster, two poster. Oh, you know I do the most. I've always done the most. Two poster, double poster. And I write on my chart, Michaela, this is a handsome boy. We circle handsome. This is a pretty girl. We circle pretty. This is a beautiful home. We circle home. This is a nice car. We circle nice, and we go on and on and on. But remember those days. We make all our posters. We don't buy them because we don't have Scholastic those days. And so the magazines, to get the picture from, Michaela, you had to go to the dentist's office, most on the dentist's office, and you steal the magazine. Well, we don't call it steal that time. We take one, we didn't return it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where you get the magazines from, the dental office. And remember, in those days, Michaela, the magazines are Home and Garden. Anybody see where I'm going with this? So it's nothing like these houses at the train line. And so when you look at my chart, Michaela, it's a little white girl, it's a little white boy, it's a beautiful family, mom, dad, dog, cat, boy, girl. It's a beautiful car. Never seen that car before. Never had a car until I was 20 something. So I never had a car at that time. I wasn't driving. I take 2 buses to work every day. Then when I was in town, when I was in Waterford, I walked to work. I walked back from work. And the house I lived in was a 2-bedroom house with 5 people, So these houses upstairs and downstairs, that you call them split level, we call them upstairs and downstairs. They were big, 5-bedroom, big car, carport. We don't even know what that was because we don't live in those kind of houses. And I walk in class and I was teaching up a storm. And this was what I presented to 55 little black children. Everything was on the... I didn't know. I was young. Didn't understand that. So every single thing I presented to them as beautiful and pretty and nice and amazing and great and fantastic and fabulous, nothing looked like them and nothing was from the experience. Years after, long time, about 9 years after, I was in a workshop that I was hosting, and that story came back to me. And it just came back to me just like this. And in the middle of the workshop, I was teaching about culturally relevant, whatever, talking about it. And in the middle of the workshop, Michael, I started to cry. Uncontrollable. The tears poured out and poured out in front of everyone. Because it took me 8 years, Michael, to make the connection that a black man in front of 55 black children taught adjectives, and every single picture did not come from the experience. I wish I could have gone back to teach that class again. But I could not. But I never made the same mistake again. Never. Not even at the university level. If you see my PowerPoint, you will guarantee the pictures and the images have a certain vibe. There's never been erasure in my class again. So when I say to you, racial justice in teacher education, racial literacy, I am explaining to you, and I'm going to show you a few resources I'm going to pop in the chat in a minute. I am explaining to you, I am sharing with you a couple of things. Let me just put this away to show you what I want to share with you. So I want to share with you, I'm going to put those resources later on. When I talk about, I'm talking about critical literacy of race. That's a famous, amazing Yolanda Celia Rose. I'm going to send you that. Some of you already have it, but I'll put it in the box for everybody. What it means about to be racially literate. So we're not talking about let's go fight. We're talking about let's go grow. We're talking about racial literacy, a call to action for teachers. Tyrone Howard went to an event and I saw him on a stage for the first time. Look what is in the background of his picture. It's about how we are tooling ourselves. Then I'm going to send you this one, which is amazing. How to engage constructively in courses that take a critical social justice lens. And that is Sensoy and D'Angelo. Many of you in Research 1 would have seen this before. If not, it's a good one. And then some key terms for the students. The conscious kid. Just some definition of terms, some cute definition, so you realize, what it means. What does anti-Semitism mean? What is the Asian American? What do we mean by the bamboo ceiling? I was at an event the other day and I used the term and somebody said, what? And I said, yeah, it's a real term, the bamboo ceiling. Ask our Asian students, ask our Asian counterparts. What do we mean by a co-conspirator? What do we mean by colorism? And so you have to have that racial literacy. What do we mean by critical consciousness? What do we mean by that? And a lot of teachers struggle with that. When we talk about CRRP, culturally responsive pedagogy, people are fine with the first part. But when we get to the critical cultural consciousness, we have some problems. What do we mean by implicit bias? What do we mean by intersectionality? And that's different from intersections. Two different things, everybody. Graduate students, we have to understand the difference. Intersections is where your identity meet. I am gay, I am Christian, I am black, I am immigrant, I am male, I am somebody's son, I am single, all those things, I'm Christian, all those things. Intersection. But intersectionality speaks to something else. We need to get into that. You'll get that as well. Islamophobia. What it means to be marginalized. Marginalized by who? By where? How? Modern minority. You have heard that. What does it really mean? Perpetual foreigner stereotype. What does that mean? So that's racial literacy, equipping yourself. And I'm sure you heard this one a lot, what it means to call out and to call in. A lot of people struggle with those two terms. A lot of people have had different definitions of how they manage it. I have gone to workshops where people say we don't believe in calling out, we believe in calling in. I have stood very strong about that to say I believe in calling out because I cannot call you in if I don't call you out, because I need to know, let you know what you're doing just now is not correct. It's not right. So there are different phases and we grow and we learn. So let's get into the journey, everybody. So I really wish for you young persons going out in the teaching field that every day in school should be like this. Jump in your car, just take your time, pull the windows down, good little drive, maybe get yourself a drink. I like me a smoothie with tapioca. Oh, I love me a mango smoothie with tapioca. Go get you one, jump in the car, just live your best life. The truth is, it's not like that. This is the truth, Michelle. You come to work this morning and there is already 2 issues on the desk. And by 11:30, it's a situation. And then by after lunch, 2 parents need a conversation. And before you know it, there's a letter you're copied on. And when you realize the letter is already sent to the superintendent. That's just how the day is. And in your excitement of teaching, you mispronounce a name and it becomes something larger than a mispronunciation. In your attempt in teaching, you compliment one student because you're drawing an example. Then you get a letter that says other students do not feel that you compliment them as well. True story. And it goes on and on. Do not be afraid of that. Do not be afraid of that. You're growing, you're learning. We learn how to apologize. We learn how to show care. We learn how to show empathy. When you're authentic and genuine, people know that. People know that. People see that. Because you know why they see that, Michael? They watch you consistently and they realize, oh, this is Michael. He shows up like this. If something is off, they will say, this is not like Michael. This is not like Maribel. This is not like Asen Renren. This is not like her. And what they do is support you. The danger is there. This is the danger now. This is the danger. The danger is we just park up doing nothing. You have to remember. So let me give you another quick story to give you why the nothing is not going to work, and why the ignore is not going to work, and why I come here to teach, I don't come here to get involved. I heard a lot of students say that in my time until they realize how involved they are. So, story. Little girl moves from Toronto to a different part of Canada. She's in a school. She's the only black girl in the class and one of 2 black kids in the entire school. Little boy comes from a different country. He's new. She's new. Little boy is amazing. They are both good kids. Nothing prejudice, nothing wrong. They're just kids. Little boy sees a little black girl for the first time. And he says, your skin is dirty. Little black girl says, no, my skin is not dirty. That's my color. Next day, little white boy sees little black girl and he says, little white boy sees little black girl and he says, your skin is dirty. She says, no, my skin is not dirty. It's my color. Little white boy gets other friends and they don't mean any harm. They just see something different. They've never experienced it. And now there are 3 children telling this little black girl her skin is dirty. Little black girl goes home. She's crying. She tells her parents. Parents come to school. Principal get involved. Superintendent get involved. I get involved. I asked one question. One question I asked Michelle. When little black girl went to teacher and says, little boy says my skin is dirty, what did you say? Teacher said nothing. Let me explain to all my TCs in the room. You are 100% now involved. Alistair, you are 100% involved. You are Cassandra, Fatima, you are 100% now involved. Daniela, it is your business. You are in the meeting with the superintendent. The parent is upset. You are the classroom teacher. You heard the statement. It is your business, Christine. That's how we become involved in other people's business. Because we are in charge. Get ready for this one. Get ready for this one. Because we are responsible, watch me carefully, for the care of other people's children. That's why when I see future educators and others that don't care about other people's children, I am sad because I said, oops, gonna be a rough ride. And I've seen a lot of new students, new teachers, rough ride. Because you cannot come to school at 8 and leave at 3:30 and think it's not your business. It is your business. The laughing because a little child has noodles every day becomes your business. The little hijab wearing girl that was told by the other girls she cannot join dancing, it becomes your business. The little boy with the cochlear implant that wanted to be a part of the the dance troupe, and other children told him, you can't come to dance because you can't hear the music. It becomes your business. All true stories that I experience. And so, racial justice, EDI, equity, all those things, they become your business. And here is the truth though. You may not have to use those terminologies. I tell people all the while. When they interviewed me the other day, they said, Dr. Campbell, now that there's people are talking about EDI, how do you feel? And I said, I feel no way. I said, EDI. Long before EDI, the actions were the same. We call it kindness and fairness and justice and empathy. I don't have to use the word EDI. I don't. I could use fairness. I could use kindness. I could use welcoming. I could use invite. I could use belonging. I could use sharing. And so as we do this work, Yolanda Celia Ruiz calls us to the archaeology of self, which is just a beautiful, amazing term for really checking on who you are and how you show up. And she said, how do our lived experiences shape the way we view the world? If you come from privilege and money, you don't understand what an empty fridge is. I always make that joke about the young lady that says, oh, the fridge is empty. Why? I guess nobody wants to eat or whatever. They're not shopping or whatever. No, the fridge is empty because they can't afford food. Or how about an experience I had right here at Oise years ago, quite a bit years ago, when we had a student who was saying some very, very, very racist things, and it became a meeting of the leadership. And I got involved because, of course, I'm part of it. And the student was brought into a meeting, and the student looked right at me. Professor Neil looked right at me. And the student says, Dr. Campbell, I could never be a racist because I pay for a goat in Africa. It's for the recording. It's for the recording. So when you see me say certain things and you see me navigate the world and walk a certain way, I want you to understand I don't walk a certain way because I listen to Humpty Dumpty, Cinderella, Incy Bincy Spider stories. I know the real stories. This is a teacher in the program that looked at me and says to me, I cannot be a racist because I paid for a goat in Africa. Let that sit with you. And that person is in the classroom teaching up a storm and having other people's children in their care. So do not come to me. Do not come for me when I am strong, insane. I need us to really think about who we are as educators and who we are responsible for. We are responsible for people's children, every single one of them. To show them love, to show them care, to take care of them, to make sure school is exciting and a good place for them to be. Make them want to miss school. You know when you're a good teacher, when the children miss school when they're sick. Take your time. You'll experience it. You see what it feels like when a child says to you, I missed school yesterday, Mr. Campbell. I missed you yesterday. I was sick. I missed school. I have had the privilege, and you let me take my applaud because I know what it feels like, because I've worked hard for that. I have had the pleasure once, twice, more than that, for a parent to call the school, and they put the phone call through me, and they say, Mr. Campbell, can you tell my child that he can't be at school because he's sick, because he's fussing that he must be at school today because you are doing some project. Happened many times. Because every day in my class is a situation. Sometimes I smile. I tell people, I will never be hungry. I'm a good teacher. You see me teach grade 1, it's a situation in grade 1. Grade 2, oh, it's a situation. I love teaching. And I love people's children. And I learn over the years how to care and respect and show kindness and love to people's children. I didn't say content, Aaron. I didn't say biology and science. I didn't say adjectives and nouns and pronouns and phonics. I said love and care and kindness. Because when you show that, the content follows. Children are not learning because they don't want to be in your class. They don't want to be in your class. They don't feel safe around you. They hear the comments you make at the staff room yesterday. They heard how you talk about the two new children. They overhear you in the hallway, how disgusting you are of that little boy. They notice the snide remarks you make about the children who live in the building. True story. About the child who is in foster care. True story. How does our institution, region's history influence the status quo you want to maintain? What do we need to know to do to be equitable? It's a self question. It's not a group question. It's a self question. What kind of teacher you want to be? What kind of teacher you want to be? And so an obstacle that remains in the fact is the fact that teacher education candidates, this is coming from Professor Dr. Yolanda Sule Ruiz in the book, those specifically who are being prepared to teach in urban school settings are not sufficiently and consistently encouraged to delve into sustained self-work. And for those of you who know me, when I'm asked why I think I am doing well, why I think whatever I said, I have grown. I have worked on self. I've worked on self. I have learned over the years how to work without applause and adulation. I don't know why I brought it up, but my energy says to go there. I have learned over the years, past director Colleen, how to work and perform when there are no applause or adulation. Jennifer, I have learned how to show up. Watch me carefully, Jennifer. I have learned over the years how to show up and take the mic when they pay me thousands to speak. And I have learned how to show up and take the mic when it's free, $0. Because what I'm going to tell you why I say that, Jennifer. Because capitalism and self has taught us so much about being ahead. And everything the thing we have learned is how to show up when everything is beautiful. But I've learned how to do all of that and do it well, even when there are no praise. Thank you for that. Because I'm called to teach. I'm called to take care of you BFEP students. That's my job. That's my calling. When I said to you, reach out to me, there's a question or a concern. That's what I mean. So I want you to realize self-work is important. What kind of teacher you want to be? Self-work is important. So the onus is on us. That's me. Look at this now. This is where it comes from me now. The onus is on teacher education programs, of which I am a part of, to lead the change. It is my responsibility to develop a generation of anti-racist, anti-oppression, focused educators. And I think we have it, you know. I think we're getting there. Sometimes the year 2, you could tell them I tell you this. The year 2 in my course the other day, 5708, the course that you will be doing in September, blackness, when I tell you, they did some presentation, it filled my joy. And I sat there watching the presentations night after night. And I said, yeah, a lot of them get it. It was more than the words. Anybody can put words on paper. Google that. That's why I'm not impressed too much with the words. Google that. The delivery. That's why I said to you last week, I know it was a little bit strong for some people. That lesson planning is not writing down the words on a piece of paper. Anybody, you can literally tell AI or whoever they want to call it to say, write me a lesson plan. The trick is AI can't teach it for you. And that's where it becomes a problem. So for those who thought my pushing, my meeting was maybe a little bit too strong, I want to tell you, you will fail if you write a great lesson plan but cannot execute it. That's just the reality. I can't tell you any nicer. And and watch me. And people's children deserve better from us. You in my course deserve Dr. Campbell to show up for 12 weeks and teach you and engage you. You deserve that. Not because you pay, like everybody like to say, but because I signed up to be your professor. I am supposed to show up. I'm supposed to teach you. I'm supposed to grade your work. I'm supposed to answer your email. I'm supposed to do that. That's my job. Ask yourself as an educator, what is my job? What is my role? How do I show up? That's my job. And so, how does racism impact my community? Ask yourself, how does racism impact my community? We're not going to some of the major stuff. We're going to some of the everyday stuff in our school. Which child is being seen? How do you talk to children in your class? How do you see them? Do they hear their language? Do you hear their accent? How do you deal with that? Is it chop, 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 chop? Make sure you get your Canadian English. Or is it encouraging them? And then say to them, of course, we are going to be growing in our language use. Of course they have to learn it. Of course they have to do it. There's no two way about it. But our approach, our approach, our approach, our approach. As a matter of fact, even that conversation about food and smell, that's actually a good conversation to have in community, you know. People have allergies. I remember inviting people to my house, and I realized some of my guests can't eat pepper. I had to divide the curry goat in two. One pot of curry goat with a good Jamaican Scotch bonnet pepper, and one pot of curry goat without the good juicy Scotch bonnet pepper. And everybody enjoyed. Respect. I'm not going to equity now, Pratima. I hope you realize I'm going to respect, because I invited those people to my house. One person is allergic to coconut milk. I had to separate. 7 of my guests were hijab wearing young ladies. I like pork. Is that day the day for me to have pork cooked in my house and on display? How disrespectful, Dr. Campbell, when you extended an invitation to these students. So when we talk about equity and racial justice and racial literacy and archaeology of self, it's about your response. How are you responding? How are you learning and unlearning? Here we go again. You saw this last week. I have to bring it back. It's one of my favorite slides. I use it a lot, because I want us to move to the growth zone. Look, in the growth zone, look at the one below the growth zone. The first two down here, the one down here. I don't let mistakes deter me from being better. Do you know how many educators will say to you they don't do certain things because they don't want to make a mistake? How are we going to grow? When since apologizing is not okay, I can tell you when it's not. It's not when the people know that you don't mean it, when they know you're pretentious. Otherwise, it's fine. We make mistakes. I've made mistakes. I still make mistakes. We're growing. We're learning. There's so much for me to learn about having 39 students in a class that are from different homes, different experiences, different order. I have learned from, let me use one example. I have learned from hijab wearing students the difference in where they come from and how things operate. I remember Neil, Professor Neil, the first time I will never forget was years ago. I wasn't at Oisy yet. The first time I worked with someone who is hijab wearing, I had to ask so much question. And there were two ladies, and they had absolutely some different opinions of how things operated. And I learned from both of them. I will never forget. When I came to Oisy, I will never forget my experience of taking a picture and asking, am I should I stand with my hands at my side? Can I shake your hand? Because I had to learn that, because when I came from a first job, I couldn't be alone with someone who is hijab wearing in my office. And then I learned from other students. I was like, oh no, Dr. Cameron, that's different where I do, when I come from. So you learn stuff. And every day it's different. I posted on my social media this week about a peer, a Jamaican peer that I got, a good one. Oh, it's when we get a good peer in Canada from Jamaica, it's like you win. It's like you win something. It was so good, and a number of persons on my social media said, oh, "Okay, Dr. Campbell, I'm making joke. They love it," and they said, "Is that the same thing as? Is that an avocado?" And I said, "Yes, it is. In Canada, we say avocado. In Jamaica, we say pear. We don't call it avocado in Jamaica. It's pear. It's a Jamaican pear, right? And so it's the same thing, but we have to learn that. So you can't say I'm wrong. I grew up learning that that thing is a pear. Here I came and it's an avocado. And then somebody online said to me it had a different name in their country as well. We have to be open to learning. It begins with us. The journey of learning. I am telling you, if you walk away today with one thing, walk away with, how do I grow? How do I learn? What is my learning journey like? What is my learning journey? I do a lot of learning, students, through food. So if you know that, food has taught me a lot. Not just it's delicious, and now my mouth almost water because I just think about food. But but it taught me a lot. I have been to like Mediterranean restaurants, and I go, wow. And then I talk to people in the Mediterranean restaurant and learn different. I've been to Brazilian steakhouse, and I learned so much about that part. I go to this Iranian, or no, Turkish restaurant called Mangal. Oh, the platter is everything. And it's a Turkish restaurant. Learn that kind of stuff. I've been to Grenadian places to have different kind of food that we don't have in Jamaica. Guyanese. We don't do metem in Jamaica. We don't do certain things. And you learn about other culture. I learn a lot through food. I was in Ghana for the first time and they served me a drink. And when I tasted it, I almost disrupt the entire restaurant. Because you know me, Christine, I'm dramatic. One of my favorite drink in Jamaica is called sorrel. Some of you know sorrel. Go to Ghana for the first time in 2022, and they said, we're going to give you sobolo or bissop. When I tasted it, I said, my God, this is sorrel, my favorite drink, one of my favorite drink. I drank that in Ghana almost every single day. They call it bissop or sobolo. In Nigeria, it's the same thing, they have different name. I am learning through differences through food. How are we learning? What are you learning through? It could be social media. Don't feel bad. Social media is amazing. Taught me a lot. Just do your double check, do your background check, do your check. So we need to examine who we are. In wrapping up, we need to examine who we are. It's all about the examination of self. It's all about the examination of self. It's all about developing all of that. That's what we want. Teacher educators must develop their racial literacy if they are to develop the racial literacy of their own teacher education candidates. And I know situations in the universities. So some of us who are teaching you, we are not even at that stage as yet. There's racism everywhere. We see the anti-blackness. We see it. We see the micro and the macroaggressions. We see the bias and the prejudice. I have experienced it. I have experienced it. I'm just a little bit, I should say, just a little bit more, I guess, aware of how to navigate it. And I'm very big on my self-care and my peace. So I am learning more and more how not to show up in your bad spaces. I know you don't mean me well. Don't invite me out for lunch because I'm not coming. I could tell you that. I made that promise to myself. I could tell you that. I could tell you that. I know you don't mean me well. As best as I am, as best as I can, I am not on a committee with you. And that's intentional self-care. The rest I have to navigate because that's all we have to do, navigate it. But racial literacy in teacher education calls for self-reflection. Spend time dealing with us, who we are. So let's wrap this up quickly, everybody. Becoming interrupters of inequality, racist and oppressive practice. How do we become the disruptors and the interrupters? I love this picture. I have had classrooms in Toronto like this. And they are, just so you know, there are schools in Toronto like this, where the kids just like this. They are all from everywhere, every space. How do I take care of every one of them? That's my job. Leave that to me. How do I take care of every one of these? I work for my students. When I was in elementary teach school, I work for their compliment. I don't do it with adults as much. For the children, I want them to love Mr. Campbell's class. I want them to love my class. I want them to learn and love my class. That's my big goal. That's my big goal. So as we do this, I want us to be intentional. I want us to engage, as Bettina Love says, in freedom dreaming. And what is freedom dreaming? Bettina Love says, imagine and creativity, new and effective ways of bringing equity into the system. Make sure our students grow and they glow. I love this picture. I love the attention to the teacher. I love the smile on the teacher's face. I love how she's leaned over. I love how she's leaned over. I love how they're leaning in. I love that little girl who's sitting on her feet at the back there. I love the attention. I love the little boy in the red and the wonder in his eyes. I want to be that teacher. Oh, yeah. That's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want, Pratima. That's what I felt when I left your place, Pratima, in December. I want that. I want my students to be attentive, to be curious, to learn. But I also want to do what the teacher in the picture is doing. I want to lean over. I want my shoulder to be leaned in because I'm interested. I am engaged. I am passionate. I am excited. I am into what I'm doing. And I can tell you something. And this is not privilege speaking. This is Andrew speaking. If I didn't want to teach, I'll leave teaching a long time. I've already tried to figure out all the things I can do other than teaching. I'm serious. I told you before I wanted to be a flight attendant, then I realized flight attendant don't get such good money, and they travel all over the world. But I have looked at other jobs, Professor Neil. Professor Neil, I don't play. I've looked at other jobs. I have been headhunted more than once. I have been offered position as executive director in non-profit. Oh yeah, I would be okay. Don't play with me. But I love teaching, Professor Neil. I love the blackboard, or they call it the whiteboard now. Anybody remember those days when you teach, that all the teachers in the room, and you write all on a chalkboard for the day? And when you finish writing, like you just write a lot, and then you do this. You do this, Pratima, because all the chalk dust is fill on your hands, and you go like this. Oh, what a feeling! I swear, listen, I know some of you don't even know that joke. It is something else. You know you work that day. You know you teach, right? When you dust off all that chalk dust off your hand, and if you're dramatic like me and you're not wearing black, you cannot dust it off on your legs. And before you realize, you look at your clothes full of chalk dust. What a feeling, eh? What a feeling when your clothes is full of chalk dust. Oh, you said it. I see it in the chat box. Director Russell. When your clothes full of chalk dust, you just feel like you are accomplished. It's funny, but it's just powerful. So I want us to feel that energy. And so, in closing, I said, as you know, as question the assumptions, engage in the critical conversations, everybody, and work on your practice reflexivity. Think about what you're saying. Think about what you're doing. When you make a mistake, say you're sorry. Work at growing. Don't make the same mistake twice. Work on it. Grow, 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 grow. That's all it's about. That's all it's about. And so, of course, it is here. The critical love, the sixth component of racial literacy. I love this. The first time I saw this from Professor Yolanda Steely Ruiz, I could not get over my excitement. I look at it and I think, oh my God, I have been talking for years about belonging as a foundation. And then this first professor comes to Oisey and she puts something up about racial literacy development, and she put love as foundation. Ooh! Wow, 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 wow. Somebody gets me. Somebody gets me. The theory is going to follow, everybody. The research is going to follow. The teaching is going to follow. But the critical love as foundation, the belonging as foundation, the staying curious, as you said there, Melanie, the love, Natalie, and the care, it's foundation. I would never forget September 2022 when she made the presentation and this was her slide. And I go, wow. Because if you look at my book chapter about belonging, I have put long ago belonging as foundation. I have a design like this. Some of you have seen it on social media. You have seen it in my books. Make sure you love what you do and love the people you teach. Work at that. Absolutely can. Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. For those of us who subscribe to Christianity, absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Corinthians 13. Love, foundation. So, in closing, think about your scholarly journey as you're being here at Oisey. Think about your scholarly journey as you prepare to go into the classroom. Think about your scholarly journey. And I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there. I love this picture right there. I love the joy. I love the smile. Kids walking home from school. I love that. I love that. I love that. So I'm going to stop the recording right here, and we're going to take a couple of minutes for some comments, some feedback. And so the recording